Yeah.
This is the house of God. Why are you not at Whipple protesting? Why are you not standing up with your Latino and Somali community? House of the devil. We have a duty to win. Justice for our immigrant neighbors. Justice for our immigrant neighbors. Justice for
Hey, welcome everybody. Courageous Media. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here on a Monday. A fantastic, great weekend. And sorry about that. So on a great Monday, after a phenomenal weekend of football, Broncos win. My boys are on to the championship game, although we lost our starting quarterback, which was an absolute gut punch after it was all said and done. But we will get on. Stiddy will be the man. Our defense will get it done. But that aside, what you just saw was the scene at City's Church outside of Minneapolis, or in Minneapolis over the weekend on Sunday. An absolutely egregious, disgusting, repulsive display of what the left is really all about. The left are neither tolerant, nor kind, nor peaceful, nor loving, nor anything. The left are exactly what we've always said they are. They are 100% obsessed with power. They want to rule you. They think they are better than you. They think that they should be able to control your life and everybody else's life. You need to line up to exactly what they think at any point in time, even when what they think changes on a day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year basis. You have to conform no matter what that conformity is. And so what you saw there was a bunch of leftist lunatics invading a church led by none other than Don Lemon, the ex-CNN disgraced ex-anchor who's a complete and utter nutjob, who is a disgrace to quote-unquote journalism, which he was never a journalist. And his independent YouTube channel is a complete flop. However, this is what he does. He has now gone the way of Montel Williams and Jerry Springer with his shock value TV, in this case, invading a church, a place of worship during services and disrupting everything. And this is what we see now. This is absolutely egregious. But check this out, because this is the other scene over the weekend in Minneapolis. It was all connected. This is all connected together, basically. So you've got the leftist lunatics invading a church. In similar fashion, you had a gentleman who was protesting essentially Islam, right? He calls himself a Christian, but he was protesting what Islam does to people. And this is how he was treated. Check this out. Literally almost pulled limb from limb into the crowd. And he was later stabbed in the head, in the side, and in the face. So he was severely injured before being rescued. Not by actual other people, not by Minneapolis PD. No, they weren't there. The Minneapolis PD has nothing to do except stand by. They have been given stand down orders by their ridiculous mayors, by the disgraced Governor Tim Walton. This is what you have going on in Minneapolis right now, and it is absolutely egregious. So I want to get into this because this is extremely important. And once again, we have people who have clearly violated U.S. law. Before we get into that, though, welcome again to Courageous Media. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks for being here. Erica DeCoke here Don Lemon is a washed up loser. Absolutely. Yes, he is. If you're here, please let us know you're here in the comments. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Again, really appreciate everybody rolling up. So Fox News did a little cut on this because they're talking about just how bad this was and the fact that there might be prosecutions coming. I hope there are lots of prosecutions coming. Check this out. Sorry about that.
These protesters burst into a church mid-service yesterday in St. Paul. They started chanting for Renee Good, the woman who was shot and killed by ICE earlier this month.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
The protesters believe one of the pastors works for ICE. Now, the organizer told Don Lemon, who was embedded with the protesters, that it was a clandestine operation meant to disrupt a, quote, key location, demanding justice for Good. One video appears to show a protester inside the church calling the churchgoers comfortable white people and shouting, "You have your nice jewelry. What do you do to stand with your Somali community?" Now, we have not seen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz or Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry issue public statements or respond to the St. Paul church mob. The FBI and the DOJ Civil Rights Division are investigating. Attorney General Pam Bondi writing on X, "I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, the Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails."
Okay, so this is a great statement by Pam Bondi. I want to see action. Don't give me if state leaders refuse. No. The time for state leaders to act is long since gone. I mean, churches have to have private security now to prevent this sort of utter nonsense from the deranged, lunatic, evil left. As Vince Everett Ellison says over and over again, the Democrat Party is absolutely 100% demonic. They are the party of demons. And this is what they do. So you have to have churches. Churches have to spend money for private security now to be able to stop this nonsense, because where were the police? Was there a 911 call? Why didn't the police show up? But anyway, getting back to Pam Bondi's statement. This is a great statement. Forget it. No. The FBI should be on the ground right now arresting these people. Don Lemon walked into a church, protested, terrorized parishioners. He should be perp walked out of his home today. Not tomorrow, not if state leaders don't act. No. No, this is a potential violation of the FACE Act. And this is what the Democrats trumped up against protesters in the January 6th Fedsurrection hoax. They took people who were doing nothing. They were outside, and they charged them with this nonsense. They've taken people who stand quietly outside of pregnancy termination centers and pray, and they have prosecuted them falsely under this nonsense. No. The time for baseless talk and Twitter posts is over, Pam Bondi. Send the FBI to Don Lemon's house. You know exactly who he is. Everybody else who was in that church needs to be identified with facial recognition and perp walked out of their home straight into federal court. This is ridiculous. This is utter and complete nonsense. Let me know what you think in the comments, because this absolutely boils my blood. Peggy Stevens, Minneapolis police say they're there as peacekeepers. Yeah, what peace are you keeping? It's absolutely ridiculous. Why don't you instead of keeping the peace, enforce the law, regardless of what the deranged lunatic mayor says? Political fishermen, at what point can we defend ourselves? Exactly. I mean, this is a tough spot for a church, because, if this was my private property and you people walked in, I'd be inclined to start shooting. That's really hard for a church to do, but that's why these people have to have private security. They should have absolutely been thrown out on their ear from this place. No. You don't get to, this is private property. You cannot protest on private property. It's absolutely disgusting. Minneapolis police have their hands tied. They've lost a third of their force since Floyd. I don't doubt it. I do not doubt that most of the Minneapolis police have checked out. And the ones who are still there are probably just counting their days trying to collect a paycheck and not get put in prison for actually enforcing the law or arresting somebody because of the utterly disgraced leadership that is still in place in Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's keep going.
The Justice Department is also probing Mayor Frey and Governor Walz for possibly interfering with immigration enforcement here in Minnesota. President Trump has warned he may use the Insurrection Act. Up to 1,500 soldiers are ready to deploy from Alaska's 11th Airborne Division, which specializes in cold weather warfare. Now, earlier yesterday, Mayor Frey once again said that demonstrations in Minneapolis are peaceful.
In the face of a whole lot of adversity, I'm so proud to be from Minneapolis. They're peacefully protesting. They're standing up for one another. And, you know, like I said, it's not just going to be resistance here in this city. We're not backing down. We're not going to be intimidated.
Peaceful. Yeah, if you stand out on the sidewalk and protest, fine. I can grant you that. Invading private property is not peaceful by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, it is a violation of the FACE Act. Just so everybody knows, here is the FACE Act. Intentionally injuring, intimidating, or interfering with, or attempting to injure, intimidate, or interfere any person by force, threat of force, or physical obstruction, exercising or seeking to exercise their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of worship. That is exactly what this was. Every single protester in there should be perp walked and charged with violations of the FACE Act. I'm sorry. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. Now, going back to Don Lemon, why hasn't he been perp walked already? Because he actually admits what he did. Check this out.
You heard what some of the folks said in there, you know, that this is, they shouldn't be there, and, you know, they shouldn't be uncomfortable, and this is our house and whatever. That's what protesting is about, is to make people uncomfortable. You may not like it, but, I mean, if they went into a church, you know, any church.
No. Protesting is not about invading private property. You are not allowed to protest on private property, you brainless moron, deranged lunatic. Don Lemon is absolutely disgusting. Now, check this out, because he tries to forcibly interview the pastor of that church in this ridiculous exchange. Check this out.
Think of this. I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here.
You have freedom to assemble on public property. You are not allowed to, you're granted no freedom to assemble on private property. You cannot come into my home and declare that you have a First Amendment right to protest. Guess what? See what that gets you. You barge your way into my home and exercise your First Amendment right. I will execute all of my Second Amendment rights, and I will make sure you end up in the morgue. This is absolutely gross. Don Lemon is a liar, a fraud, and a fool.
We're here to worship Jesus, because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world, is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship.
Not only should you have been pushed, if they had security, if they were a big enough church to have security, you should have been picked up and thrown out on your face.
Jesus, that's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I ask that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here.
Oh, Don Lemon, give me a break. You do not espouse any. I mean, far be it from me. I do not know the man's. I cannot look inside the man's heart. Only God can. But for everything on the outside, as the Bible says, judge a tree by its fruit. Every piece of fruit you have produced, Don Lemon, screams that you are not a Christian. You do not espouse any basic Christian orthodoxy. Your lifestyle choices clearly show you have not read the Bible, or if you had, you don't care what it says. You don't care to follow Jesus, to obey God. This is absolutely gross. Don Lemon is a complete another, he's a deranged imbecile. But worse, he's a dangerous one. He is out there putting people in harm's way, putting his own followers. He instigated this whole thing in harm's way, putting churchgoers in harm's way. Because what are people forced to do in Minneapolis? I mean, if I lived in Minneapolis, I'd be packing 24/7, which is going to be dangerous for me and dangerous for the people who come up against me. This is absolutely ridiculous. Jacob Fry is a failed mayor and should be arrested. Tim Walz should be arrested. Don Lemon should be arrested. All of them. Fry and Walz for obstructing federal operations, for obstructing federal agents in the course of their duty, and Don Lemon and his little rabble-rousers for violations of the FACE Act. It's absolutely gross. And Lynn Sanger, we're terrified here. I can't imagine living in a place like this where I would have to be packing 24/7. But this has gotten so bad that Trump is actively considering using the Insurrection Act to send not just National Guard, but active duty federal troops to Minneapolis. Check this out.
The irony of him saying, it seems like what President Trump posted today about invoking the Insurrection Act seems to be the way this is going, and that's the way it will end. And just to invoke the Insurrection Act, he just has to make a determination that is impractical to enforce federal law because of the obstructionist activities. And I think that's apparent just by the reporting you just had. And you have people like Tim Walz, the irony of him saying they don't want chaos when he is seemingly doing everything he can to sow chaos, to cause division, to encourage people to subvert ICE in their mission. It's really shameful, but I think we're going down the road of the Insurrection Act because Governor Walz is not going to step up to his responsibility and get his streets safe so ICE can do their job. And remember, ICE is enacting the laws passed by Congress.
Now, let me be clear. There's a part of me that would love Trump to do this. Invoke the Insurrection Act, send active duty troops, and absolutely lock this place down. At the same time, arrest Walz and Fry and everybody else involved, Keith Ellison, all of them. This is absolutely gross. But I also realize that this could be a poison pill for Trump. They're actual leftist knuckleheads calling for Trump to do this because they want to paint him as a dictator. This is what they want to do. Now, the people of Minneapolis are a different story. They want this. They are screaming for this. Check this out. And let me know what you think in the comments.
This shit needs to fucking stop, people. It needs to stop. All of us Minnesotans here are fucking fed up. Do you know how many people have to call in sick to work because they can't get to their jobs because you guys are protesting? You won't even let the people that live here live here. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Peaceful protesting is not blocking cars, including pedestrian cars, from getting to where they need to go. So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Because I'm kind of fed up. In fact, I'm really fed up. I just want to find a job so that I can start giving back to my community. That's what I want to do. I don't know what else to say. Y'all need to fucking give it a rest. Or at least be respectful. Fuck. Like, people are scared to leave their houses because of how crazy you're acting. You don't even bother to ask if we're on your side or not. You just attack. So,
I mean, it's absolutely crazy what is going on there. And so Trump needs to do something. I think first step would be, I would call in the National Guard. I wouldn't use the Insurrection Act yet. I would call in the National Guard. I would federalize, personally, I think I'd federalize the Minnesota National Guard right out from underneath Tim Walz and let the courts go battle it out. But I would call in the National Guard to support ICE and to basically start clearing the streets of these ridiculous protesters and keep stuff like this from happening where they invade churches. At the same time, Pam Bondi has got to step up. I am tired of X posts and Twitters. I'm tired of her tweeting out and then not doing a damn thing. Go arrest 57 people from that church, and then we'll see what happens. It won't happen as easily the next time. Perp walk Don Lemon into a federal courthouse, hold him without bail, and let's see what happens the next time somebody says, hey, let's go invade a church. It's ridiculous. One more video of people in the Minneapolis area. Check this out.
This message is for President Trump. It is time for the Insurrection Act. It is time that our troops put their boots on the ground in Minneapolis. This is getting out of hand, and we the people are not liking it whatsoever. We're not asking you. We're telling you now, Mr. President. This has gone on for way too long, and it needs to stop, and stop now.
I mean, that pretty much says it all right there. You've got people actively calling for this because they are tired of living in this socialist hellhole, in this Islamic, Somalian, socialist hellhole that is Minneapolis. And so it's getting close to the point where Trump's going to have to use either step one, I would call in the National Guard. I'd call in the National Guard specifically to support ICE operations and let them, as a fallout of that, call in so many of them that they're all over the street. And then those 2,000 ICE agents, I think I'd up it to 3,000 and put them everywhere. Even if they're not actively tracking somebody down, put them on a street corner, surround them with a few National Guard troops and say, oh, no, it's ICE operations. Clear the street. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could fudge this before getting to the Insurrection Act, so that so that they don't have the opportunity to say Trump's a dictator. But this is ridiculous. This has to stop. This needs to go the way of Washington, D.C. What Trump did in D.C., which he had obviously the federal authority to do so, he has a lot of authority to do it first with the National Guard to support ICE operations. And then if that is not enough, then I would declare the Insurrection Act and I'd start thumping heads. Seriously, thumping heads. This is ridiculous. Lynn Sanger, fast track, arrest in public, perp walk, 100%. That's how you start to deter this stuff. Go perp walk Don Lemon into federal prison today in front of everybody. Call the media and have them there to record it. That's what needs to happen. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Despite all the shenanigans, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time, have a great day.